My fourth interview in the series here over at Tampa Bay Metal Detecting. My name is Jose, for those of you who don't know, and tonight is Friday, and it is I Dig Fridays. You can find us here along with a bunch of other YouTube channels every Friday night starting at 6:45 p.m. Eastern, and depending on the season, whether it's summertime or winter, we run through about 9 or sometimes 9:30. Anyway, enough of all that jarble. Tonight I have with me a very special guest, actually one of my most favorite beach hunting YouTubers out there. I mean, there's some good YouTubers out there that hunt the beach, but for me, Brian over at Savannah Harps is the go-to guy. Not only does he hunt the beaches, but he also does relic hunting as well. He's got a lot of knowledge, a lot of years, and a lot of experience with multiple machines. So I want to bring him in. We'll get to know him a little bit more, and hopefully you guys can head on over to his channel, check him out. I promise you won't be disappointed. So let's bring him on in here. Hey, Brian, how you doing today, buddy?
Good. How are you doing, Jose?
Doing great. Let me thank you for taking the time out of your day and joining me here for a quick interview. I really do appreciate it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Get the show started here.
Well, started off, and I'm assuming this is all about metal detecting. So metal detecting for me started off very small. 10 years ago, bought the first metal detector. It was a White's Coin Master or something like that. Piddled around with it for a little while. Didn't do much with it. Collected dust for a while. In 2016, I had a neighbor of mine that relic hunted, metal detecting in and around the Savannah area, kind of in our neighborhood, really. But I saw him quite often, and he convinced me to buy a metal detector. So my first real metal detector was the XP Deus. And if you all are familiar with the XP Deus, you know this is not a beginner metal detector. It took me the first month was just brutal. But I was very determined to conquer this thing. So I made it an effort or a priority to get out with this thing every day. And I started off with just targets in a test garden to make sure I could actually hear them. And within a couple months, I was actually finding some pretty good stuff. And in Savannah, Georgia, there's a lot of history. So I started off really metal detecting in 2016 for relics. I mean, I started off in the relic deal. And I just immersed myself in relics and watching YouTube videos and learning about what these relics were. So I'd find something that looked weird. I wanted to identify it. So with Facebook and with YouTube, I finally started figuring out what these things were. And kind of progressed after a few years of that into the beach, because I was going to the beach a little bit, and I never really thought much about metal detecting on the beach. But I don't know if it was just interest because of YouTube, seeing people beach metal detect and relic metal detect. But I wanted to start doing that. So the XP Deus machine or metal detector is not a good beach metal detector. You could set it up to use it on the beach, but you're not going to really find much. It's very noisy. So I ended up buying a CTX 3030, which I had for a very short period of time, and it was very heavy, and it worked. I did find a little bit of stuff on the beach, but it was just so heavy. I didn't like it. And at the time, the Equinox wasn't out yet. So I purchased the Excalibur 2. I had that for a little while, and it was too heavy for what I like. And I'm not a little guy. I'd actually, I'm a fairly big guy, I'd say. I'm 6'3", and I work out quite a bit, but this thing it just didn't feel right. And I wasn't metal detecting in the water yet. So I had it for a little while, did some beach hunting, found a little bit, and then sold it. And at the time I sold it, the Equinox just came out. So I purchased 2 Equinoxes right off the bat. And that's when I really started concentrating on the beach with the Equinox. The first year of the Equinox, I would say I did okay. I didn't go nearly as much as I did the second and third year I had it. And that's when I really started to really like the beach a lot more, because I was finding a lot more.
Yeah, Equinox will get you some gold.
Well, the gold, and then, just interesting finds. I mean, it was not just coins, bottle caps, and pull tabs. It was, it was jewelry. It was different things. It was interesting. Sunglasses, whatever. So that's how I kind of got into the beach metal detecting thing. Then I met some really good friends that also beach metal detect, and we have our little group on the beach. It makes it a lot more fun when you have people you can metal detect with and talk about metal detecting and finds, and just, be there and show each other, compete against each other. Anyway, that's pretty much where I am now. I still relic hunt quite a bit too. I use the XP 2 for relic hunting, and I'm using the Mind Lab Manicore on the beach right now. Now, last year I used the XP 2. I get the question all the time, which one's the best? And and my answer is always the same thing. They both perform very, very well. I like the Manicore on the beach because it sounds better on gold. I think it has an advantage, a little bit of an advantage on small gold, and a little bit of depth advantage on gold over the XP 2. But that's it as far as its advantage. But it sounds so much better, and it's very quiet compared to the XP 2. So that's it. I mean,
you folks that have multiple machines, I don't know how you do it. I grab my Equinox, I head out to whether I'm going to the beach or the park. I don't think I'd be able to fathom standing in my garage at 5:30 in the morning trying to figure out which one of these 5 beautiful babies I'm taking with me to the beach. I mean,
well, it's not that difficult when you know what the machines really do. There are times when I have, an issue thinking about which one I would use, and that's more on the relic hunting side, I would say. On the beach, I have already planned a day before I go to the beach. Even if I go to the beach every day, I still planned ahead a day before I went which machine I'm going to use. I already know. And I, at this point too, because the Manicore came out, I think in January, maybe.
Yeah,
I think I got my
Manicore.
I think I got mine in February, somewhere around there, maybe. I don't remember the exact date I got my Manicore, but I've committed to learning this machine completely. Now, even though you may know this machine and learn it, there are so many nuances about any machine that I want to be able to go over targets and just, know that that's going to be, or know 90% that it's going to be something good. So I've committed to using the Manicore totally, but I really do at this point feel that it has an advantage on gold over the XP 2.
I've heard a lot of good things about the Manicore.
Now, there are some things I question about the Manicore because I had so many issues with the Equinox, the waterproofing. Hopefully it stays dry. That's all I want to say, because it's very similar to the Equinox as far as how it's built.
So you haven't dunked it yet?
I have actually been out in the water a few times with it. I went out today with the Manicore and got out of the water, had a little bit of sparkiness or chirpiness to it going on, it seemed like. So I was like looking at the screen to see if there's any water behind it, and I was like, "Oh, please don't be anything wrong with this machine." We'll see. It was still working fine. It just got a little bit noisy after I got out of the water, but we'll see.
All right. Well, I hope that when you turn it back on, the chirpiness is gone, and maybe it was just a little under the weather.
I'm hoping it was just EMI or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, you get on our beach, like there's random EMI sometimes. You just all of a sudden EMI, and you know.
So let me ask you a question. I know we've talked a lot prior to turning on the camera and hitting record. So I mean, I've got all the answers to my questions already, and I don't know where to start, where to finish. But there is a question that I did want to ask you based on the conversation we had. You're very familiar with Florida and metal detecting on the beaches here, and then being on the East Coast in Georgia. The east side generally really revolves around tidal flow. You want to get out there a couple hours before low tide and then ride the tide back in. Whereas where I hunt, I don't even look at the tide chart. The only thing I look for is the temperature and the rain. So you want to maybe touch a little bit on the differences that you know of between hunting the two sides?
It's huge, but it's not as big as you would think, because the people that do well on the beach on the Gulf side, your side, also are paying attention to those tides. Particularly if they're hunting the wet sand or in the water itself. Mostly in the water there, because you don't have the wave action you have on the East Coast. Like if you went to Jacksonville Beach, 90% of the time that water is unhuntable, because those waves are like death waves.
Violent, huh?
It's just a wavy beach. Our beach is very wavy. A lot of the East Coast beaches are very wavy, but it varies in the wind direction quite a bit. It also varies on the tide cycles. We have here in the low country of Georgia and Savannah two tides. Obviously, everybody does, but they're big tides. They're big tide swings. Sometimes they can be an 8-foot swing in a tide.
Wow.
So we have a lot of water movement that's happening, pretty much all up and down the coast. Some beaches aren't so much, changing that much. But the tide swings are big. And it can be very big, and it varies. The current is a big determinant of where you'd want and what time you'd want to go. And that has to do with the wind direction as well. Our wind direction changes daily. Well, sometimes I should say daily, but sometimes it doesn't. And I know that the people down or over on the east or the west coast, the Gulf side, they're paying attention to winds too, because you get a little bit of a west wind, your wave conditions change. You get those mini little fast waves going on. Mm-hmm. Those things they're like machine gun waves. But yeah, I mean it's a big factor in the whole research of that goes into metal detecting on the beach. It's huge.
Well, I'm gonna get to experience that within the next 2 weeks. I'm gonna be heading down to South Beach to do a little hunting, so I get to experience some of those big tidal flows.
Yeah, South Beach you'll have plenty of targets. You will not have a lack of targets.
So I could go on and on and on with you all night. You're just a treasure trove of information and experience. And unfortunately, I only have a 15-minute slot, and it's not enough for a guy of your caliber within this particular hobby. So I want to give you the last minute or two here to tell us a little bit about your channel, if you have anything upcoming that maybe we can look forward to. And guys and gals, I do encourage you to head on over there and check out his content. I guarantee you will hit that subscribe button without me even asking you to, because it's that good. So, Brian, if you want to go ahead and take this last minute or two and let us know a little bit about your channel, what you got coming on, and we'll go from there.
Jose, thank you, number one, for inviting me on this video call. You're going to get a lot more of what you've seen in the past. If anybody's watched my channel, just go through the videos. It's a lot of beach hunting. It's some relic hunting. Today I had a ring recovery for a girl. It went really well. It's going to be a very interesting video. It was a quick recovery. And it was a heartfelt one too. So those are always the best. Again, Jose, thank you very much. Watch his channel.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day with me here at 10:30 at night on a Sunday. Guys, my name is Jose. This is Brian from Savannah Harps. This is Brian from YouTube channel Savannah Harps. I'm Jose, Tampa Bay. I'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.